All right, we appreciate Heel being a part of the show. We also appreciate Bill Shakin joining us, of course, longtime columnist, baseball writer for the LA Times, has covered the Los Angeles Dodgers for a very long time. Bill, great to be with you. We are almost halfway at the halfway point of the Major League Baseball season. What is your grade so far for this club?
I guess with the Dodgers, you're always grading on that curve of expectations because it's not, is the team good this year? It's, are they going to win the World Series? So right now, it's probably a B+. They're a really good team. They're in first place in the toughest division of baseball. Do they look like they're going to win the World Series right now? Probably not, but the trading deadline hasn't come. We'll see what they do. We'll see what other teams do. And of course, for the Dodgers, it is always the story of injured pitchers and how they come back.
Yeah, that's a good question because we've had that conversation a lot here on the show. It's, are they going to kind of stand pat and wait for some of these guys to come back, or is it going to be more of a what Andrew Friedman does not want to do? And of course, he just dropped a column, I think, last week with words from Friedman about his still hope to not be active at the trade deadline. What is your baseball gut telling you about what this team will need to do in about a month and change?
I don't think they know for sure right now. And that's because, again, it's the injured pitchers. So when I talked to Andrew about this last week, I think the first thing a lot of fans think of is left field because the Dodgers are above average at every position offensively except left field. And they've given Michael Conforto a lot of runway, as Dave Roberts would like to say, and he just hasn't delivered. But, you know, they're still in first place, so there's still that chance. Ha-Seong Kim has given the Dodgers an incredible option to work guys all around the diamond because, of course, any Andrew Friedman team has guys that can play all around the diamond. So at least my sense from Andrew Friedman is they're not really interested in making a move in left field. Pitching, they want to see what happens with Tyler Glasnow and Blake Snell. They think both guys can be back on the mound by the trading deadline, and I imagine that would give you a pretty good idea then of what you need to do. But, you know, when Andrew said in the offseason, we want to get enough pitching depth so we don't have to go out in the market in July, they don't know about that. And the other thing, and Andrew didn't talk as much about this, but you guys know, this was a bullpen that was supposed to be Blake Trinan, Evan Phillips, Michael Kopech at the back end. Kopech just came back. Trinan still out. Phillips out for the season. And then, of course, Tanner Scott, who they paid a lot of money to in free agency, has been healthy all year, hasn't been as effective as the Dodgers would have liked. And that's an area you can always get an improvement in at the deadline. There are always teams looking to trade relievers. So I would think pitching area for sure is where they'll focus.
Bill, you had said yourself that the NL West is the toughest division in baseball. Right now, the Dodgers hold a lead, albeit slight, of 3.5. Who is the biggest competitor in your mind, the biggest threat in the division, and furthermore, the biggest threat to them in the National League?
Well, as much as our friends in San Francisco are not going to want to hear this, I think the Padres are still the biggest threat. They were the biggest threat to the Dodgers last year. They were the best team the Dodgers played last October. But the Padres also are afflicted by pitching injuries, and they don't have the resources the Dodgers have to just go out and get whoever they want. A.J. Preller has done a tremendous job in making trades. He is willing to give up a lot of top prospects, where Andrew Friedman and most guys in his position are not. But how many of those top prospects are left after the last couple of years? So I think for the Padres, Michael King is out with a pinched nerve. They don't know when he's going to come back. Yu Darvish has been sort of working to get back all season, but they have no idea when that might actually happen. If those guys are back, I think it's a much different decision in terms of who you like in the division, because right now, if the Padres are playing out the season with what they got now, with injured starting pitchers and getting no offensive contribution from left field and catcher, you got to say the Dodgers.
You know, we just saw a fairly spicy series between those two ball clubs here in Los Angeles. We have a lot of conversation about Dodgers, Padres rivalry, and, whatever side people fall on. It's either not a rivalry because it's not the Giants, or it is a rivalry because they actively hate each other right now, or at least they play it real well on TV. Shout out Mike Schilt and Dave Roberts in particular. But what are your thoughts on how the Dodgers-Padres rivalry has changed over the years, over the last half decade, and kind of shifted from the traditional Dodgers-Giants rivalry?
I think in the beginning it was sort of the Padres declaring that there was a rivalry before there actually was one. Just
fair.
going out and spending money on a lot of players doesn't make it a rivalry. But when you have the kind of games that you mentioned, the teams have just played not only the past couple weeks, but for the past couple years, you get to meet in October. Those are the kinds of things that make for a rivalry. And except for one fluke year, the Giants haven't been in October or anywhere close to it the last 5 years. You know, people talk about the Yankees and the Red Sox. The Red Sox haven't been anywhere close to October for the most part over the last half a decade. The Dodgers and the Padres are the teams that have been going at it. And for my money, it's the best rivalry in baseball.
Shohei Ohtani, you know him very well because you certainly covered the Angels as well, and you know Shohei from his time there. Bill, what's been the biggest change that you've seen between Anaheim Shohei and Los Angeles Shohei?
He just seems happier. I don't think that's, any great observation on my part. I'm sure some of that is, getting married, having a baby, decoy the dog. That's all great stuff. But he was pretty clear in Anaheim that his first priority was to win. And as much as the Angels talked about how comfortable he was there, and he was, and, who doesn't like living, by the beach here in Orange County, he wanted to win. And the Angels weren't winning. They're not winning. They don't seem to give the impression that they're going to win in the near future based on how the team has been run lately. They've got some good young players, but as they found out when they had Ohtani and Mike Trout, it takes more than a couple guys to make a winner. Now he's on a team that wins every year, and, he kind of likes it.
Winning is fun. Breaking news, winning is fun. We just learned from Bill Shaken here on Dodgers territory. Bill, just before you joined us, we were talking about Kike Hernandez and position player pitching, and kind of, I don't know, there's a narrative that it's getting a little out of hand. I think my buddy Jeff Snyder says it, where MLB put a rule in which gives people the ability to use that rule where you can put a player in when you're up a certain amount or down a certain amount. What's kind of your taste on the position players pitching, and is it good for baseball, bad for baseball? What are your thoughts?
I think it's getting kind of tired. It was a novelty when we first had it because, oh my God, the team's losing 20-2, and look, the third baseman is pitching, and you never see that, but you see it all the time. And MLB did put in a rule about, all right, there has to be so big a margin in the game before you can even use a position player. But that hasn't stopped. And, it's kind of crazy. There were plenty of years where teams had 10-man pitching staffs and they didn't need to use position players. Now they've got 13-man staffs. And, of course, every team cycles guys between the minors and the majors much more rapidly than they ever would have back when there were 10-man staffs. And pretty much the only way you got sent up or down is if you got hurt or you just were, really awful. There's no need for that today. I mean, the Dodgers had a day off, right? The day after Kike pitched. Come on,
Yeah.
Nobody can give you a meeting before a day off. You're not killing your bullpen.
Clayton Kershaw continues to be unbelievably impressive, regardless of whether he's an ace now or, the fourth guy on the staff. Bill, you've covered him his entire career. He's close to another milestone, achieving career strikeout number 3,000. How would you describe Clayton's legacy as a Dodger when he does finally retire? What will you remember about him the most?
I think just how serious he was. There are a lot of guys who you come in, and you guys have seen this too. They're happy, they're joking around, they're getting ready for the game in whatever way works for them, and not everybody can be the same way. But Clayton is just so dedicated into his routine every 5 days. It's not as if he just has his routine planned for the day that he starts. He's got it minute to minute planned all 5 days before the start. And he's done a lot of things I think people forget now that his career has gone so long that might not have been in the best interest of his career. And I bring it up only because we have had recently the stories about Rafael Devers and what he would or would not do for the Red Sox. And remember all those years in the playoffs when Clayton was pitching on 3 days rest to save the Dodgers? I mean, that wasn't the best thing for his career. Unfortunately, as we all know, the results were not the greatest most of the time. Fortunately for Clayton, he got through that. The Dodgers won the World Series. Then they won the World Series again. So no one, thank God, can ever say that, Clayton Kershaw somehow stood in the way of the Dodgers winning the World Series. But he gave everything he had. He continues to do that. And look, he was never blessed. I mean, he was not one of these 99-mile-an-hour fastball guys. He learned how to pitch. He got that great curveball, but he struggled with his other pitchers over the years. He'll be the first to tell you that. And now he's pitching at a speed where most guys don't survive in Major League Baseball. And he's not only figured out how to do it, he's been pretty good at it. And that's an amazing tribute because, again, most guys don't last this long, and they certainly don't last this long changing up what they do midstream.
Yeah, 18th season in a Dodger uniform. Next stop for him when he's done is Cooperstown. Bill,